Okay, so we have discussed few things in earlier sessions. We started with discussing how to maintain character consistency. The first session we took was what are character consistency, how do you get character consistency, what are the different ways because of which, or what are different things because of which the character becomes inconsistent, and what are different ways using which you can get a character to look consistent, right? So we looked at why celebrities come into the picture and why celebrate like using celebrities might affect the character, and what are different ways you have to look and do to make the character consistent. Like second thing we discussed was how to understand if a character was consistent or not. How to know if a character that you're using is consistent or not consistent for the first step. And then if it is consistent, how to pick out a right image for reference. Right now, today we are just gonna look at few things here, like very simple session today. We're just gonna you know play find the difference game. That's all we're gonna do. So now, before we come to anything else, I have few images on my screen right now. Can can you guys tell me what is the difference you feel in the image? So now, when we talk about character consistency, right, we talk about let's say the face of the character, the eyes of the character, the hair of the character, the shape of the face, or maybe the facial hairs. These are few things that we generally check for character consistency. So out of these things, what do you think is wrong in all these images? Like there is only one thing wrong here. Can you point out what do you feel is not consistent? So here is the issue here, right? Like everyone can understand that the hair is inconsistent here. Now, what in the hair is inconsistent, that we'll figure out, right? In all the six images, we can make sure I can tell you that the hair is inconsistent, right? Now let's see one by one. What do we feel like why exactly, or what in the hair is inconsistent? So this is a reference of how the character should look. Like this is how exactly the character is supposed to look. These are like few images of the character that I'm keeping here. Now let's go one by one and see, check if we understand what exactly is looking wrong here. So this is the reference. These three images are your reference images. Now while looking at this, can you tell me what is wrong in the hair in the first image? There's only one thing wrong here in the hair. So there are not multiple things wrong here. In every image, only one thing is wrong. So we can see that the length is shorter here, right? There might be other differences, definitely. Now that curliness is not looking like, or it's not looking like proper curls, because I cannot see the hair itself. Like I cannot see the curls because here the curls give me a feeling of curls when I have like hair here till this point, right? I might see because now the hair is short, and to make it look short, right? Hair looks weird. Who is that? Samant. Why does the hair look weird? This is the exact point, right? The hair will look weird. But why exactly is it looking weird? Now, this is something you will have to understand. Because if you don't understand the reason of why this hair looks weird, you will not be able to figure out what should I do to make it not look weird. So this is what we're trying to figure out here. Because sometimes while making images, we can make sure, like we make it out that okay, this hair is not looking like what I want, but what is the reason behind that hair not looking right? Because if you don't realize what went wrong here, you will not be able to figure out that what should I do to make it right. Because now if you don't figure out that the length might be a problem here, then you'll not be able to figure out that should I paint on this, or is it just an inpainting issue? Will it be fixed by just an inpainting, or do I need to do anything else? So now length is an issue that we can figure out. We all can see that the length looks weird here. The length looks shorter here. With respect to the reference images we have here, we can assume the length is somewhere here, right? But here we can see the length went here. Now, what is the issue? Do you guys feel like there is one issue in the second image as well? What do you feel
The
is the issue in
partition.
the second image?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
partition.
got it. Yeah. Now, what do you feel is the issue in the third image?
Extra curly.
Got it. Only one person got it.
Curls. Yeah.
Got it, ma'am.
Got it. Okay. Now, what is the issue in the fourth image?
Volume.
Volume.
Got it. Perfect. Okay, if anyone feels like while we are moving forward, if anyone feels like I'm not able to get it, why this was the issue, or like let's say someone said volume, right? Volume is the issue, but if someone feels like I don't see a difference, let me know, right? Because people who are answering, I know that they are understanding concept, but if you have any issue, let me know, right? Okay. Now, what is the issue in the next image?
Color.
Color.
Got it. And then one last image.
Straight. The hair is straight.
Stylist. Yeah, stylist.
Hairstyle. Straight
Perfect.
hair.
Perfect. So now, can I assume that we all can understand that there was something inconsistent in these six images, and we can also figure out that what is wrong in all the six images. We are not talking about how to fix it right now. We are just figuring it out that what is wrong here, right? Okay. Now, can you guys tell me this is second, phase of your images now, or second collection of your images? Now, can you tell me what is, inconsistent in this?
Eye color.
Now, any difference you feel in these three images?
Hair
Hmm.
partition.
Facial hair,
Facial
I
hair.
think. Yes,
Facial hair.
facial hair.
Correct. So the people who are saying hair partition, definitely I can see the hair partition looking odd, but always look for multiple things in your images. Because like let's say someone tells you that this character is inconsistent, right? Like let's say your producer coordinator, they might have mentioned that this character is inconsistent. Now it's your responsibility to understand what is inconsistent in this. And it is very important for you to figure out first what is inconsistent. Because if you don't make out that what is looking inconsistent, you'll not be able to solve that problem. Right. So always have a bigger perspective of what might be looking wrong. Right. Now definitely the hair might be looking wrong here. Now I my idea was just to make the facial hair look different. Right. Anyways. Okay. Now there are set of four images here. What might be wrong in this one?
Shape.
Face size.
Body proportion, face size.
Got it. Okay. So now assuming the answers that we received today, right now, I can see that first of all, you guys are able to figure out that a image, or like a particular image is looking inconsistent with reference to something else. That okay, this image is looking different from this, or maybe this one is looking different from this. Right? There is no issue in understanding that. And then we are also able to figure out that when we say inconsistent, what might be the inconsistencies. Right? We are able to understand or judge the images and we can see that this is looking on. So now same thing here. Okay, before I tell you why this is being done here, let's just take like 1 minute and understand what should we do here. Now let's just say that there are 6 images, there are inconsistencies in the 6 images. So if I have to make this image look consistent like this, what will be the steps I will take or follow to make it consistent? So do we always need a paintbrush to fix something?
No, it depends on the scenario.
Got it. When will you use a paintbrush to make changes?
In
When do you feel like you
in
will
uh,
not use a paintbrush to make changes?
in case of volume or length.
In case of volume or length, you'll use a paintbrush.
Yeah.
Got it. What about color then? So basically, you can't define that in this particular case, I will use it. In this particular case, I won't. Because even sometimes, like let's say volume and length, if your character is very consistent, just imagine that the character is way too consistent. Like the trained character, right? This character that has been trained very, nicely. The character is trained in a very good manner. It's very consistent. So even if the hair's length or the volume is different, if you impaint the character, that is, if you impaint this head with a high intensity, it will also fix the length for you. Now, this might not happen in all the cases, only for a character which has been trained well. But in case, so initially, if we have to fix hair, any image, any inconsistency, if you have to fix your hair, first understand what might be the issue in the hair. Maybe it will solve it by inpainting. Let's say it might solve the issue by just inpainting. If it doesn't, then you might have to fix your hair and then inpaint. So if you feel like, let's say, like the color is an issue, let's say, maybe if the character is trained nicely, maybe just by painting you'll get it. But if you don't, then pick a brush, pick the color you want, paint on top of it with a low opacity. Always remember with a low opacity, and then inpaint it so that you will get a consistent hair there. Because maybe if I inpaint on this one and there is a reference of a darker hair here, so even if the character is supposed to have this light hair, but because the reference has a darker hair, it might not be able to give me this fine color of hair. So if it's not able to figure out the color, I'll pick a brush, pick this color, lightly paint that color on top of it, and then inpaint. So that at the bottom, the reference image also has the same color. Same goes with everything else. So all these issues can be sorted even without using a paintbrush if your character is trained well. And if not, then you can use a paintbrush. You can make the changes on your reference image and then in paint, right? Now, like let's say first of all, let's understand why this issue might come. So if your character is trained well, this issue will not come. But sometimes what happens is, because we write a complicated prompt, right? We add color of the dress, color of the background. Maybe there are a lot of props also in this prompt. So because of lot of colors in your prompt, sometimes this will be a rare case, but sometimes the color of the eye might get affected because of this. So maybe the character was supposed to have black eyes, but now the character is coming with, let's say, blue eyes because of something in the prompt that affected your image. So in those cases, again, when you are in painting the head, right? So if your character is trained well, now see, everything related to character is dependent on how well your character is trained, right? And we don't have an idea about that. That is dependent on the character trainer we have. So now if your character is trained well, and even if I get a wrong face here, if I just impaint it, I might be, I might get the right result here. If, again, dependent on how good the character has been trained. So if I, impaint it, I might be able to, get the exact eye color I want, or the exact eye color this character is supposed to have. But if not, right now, again, understand that if your eye color is getting affected because of dress, so while inpainting the head, I will not mention anything about the dress or the background, because now I realize that the eye colors are getting affected because of the color of the background or dress or something else. So if this eye color is getting affected because of other colors here, I'll make sure that while in painting head, there is nothing else in the prompt. Only the character is selected and the expression is written. That will be my only thought process. Right now here, see, I got the right exact eye color. Like even though the reference image here had blue eyes, but I still got the brown eyes that the character is supposed to have. So now this issue will be rare issue in the sense generally does not happen, and even though sometimes it happens, while if you impaint your head and the face, once it will fix that for you. But in case the character is not trained well, and you feel like you're not getting the exact eye color that the character is supposed to have, then again, simple thing. If painting is not solving things for you, pick the paintbrush, pick the color you want, the exact color you want the eyes to be in, opacity low, paint it on the images where you want to change the eye color, and then paint it. So that you have a reference of this, the AI gets a reference that this is the eye color you want, and then the AI can change it. This is understandable, right? Okay. Now, same thing goes with cases like facial hair. Again, if your character is trained well, even if you just impaint it, you will be able to get the right facial hair. But if your character is not trained well, if the character itself has differences in the facial hair, in those cases, if inpainting is not solving the problem, make sure that you fix the facial hair first. If you feel like the facial hair is too much in one image, use a magic eraser, remove the hair, or use a paintbrush, lightly remove the hair. So now there are two different ways. So if you don't want hair here, use the magic brush and remove the hair. Or sometimes you just want to reduce the amount. Like I want this to be here, but I don't want it to look this prominent. So then use a paintbrush, keep the opacity low. So that what will happen, you will just reduce, the amount of hair that appears on this. There'll still be hair here. And then impaint it. Same goes with the image where you feel like the hairs are not, like let's say it looks like clean shaved here, but you want a little stubble here. So then pick a paintbrush, pick the color, and lightly add it, like very lightly, so that it will not look like a beard, just like a light stubble. That's all you need here, right? I think this is also understandable. So everything related to character consistency will be dependent on how good your character is. You should be able to get the right character and right look by painting a character. But in case anything with the character, because of which the character might be inconsistent, whether it be hair, whether it be color of the face, whether it be shape of face, anything where you feel like just painting is not giving me the right thing, then you'll have to fix that thing first and then impaint. So that the AI has a reference at the back, right? And then same goes with this case. So here again, if you feel like this is an issue and inpainting is not solving it, then you solve it first and then impaint it. So if you feel like this is the right face, let's say, and your face comes like this, so just pick a paintbrush, make the face like this, like make it more chubbier and then do it. Or just think that this is how the face should look and the face is coming chubbier, then make it little slightly slimmer and then paint it. Or there's one other way of fixing the face, when the face shape or sizes is a difference. Like let's say sometimes it's not about slim or chubby faces, it's also about the length of the face. Like sometimes some character might come with a long face, and few of the faces might look shorter or smaller. So in all those cases, right, you can either use a paintbrush, make the face shape change, or you can take it to Photoshop, just select this face, and just play around with however you want. Like let's say if you want this face to look like this, just increase the length like this, like just expand this face only in this direction. Or in case you this face looks very long and you wanted to make it look shorter or smaller, just again select this face and just decrease the height, and then inpaint it. So that now, because the face shape has been fixed by your end and face shape is not an issue, and because you'll inpaint it with the pose here, right, it will not change the shape of the face, it will just fix all those patches here and there. Correct. So if we write beard, right? Let's say if you write beard here. Now the thing is why you should not write anything. See, understand the point. If the beard is supposed to come, it will come even without using this. So if you want a little stubble, right? And the stubble is not here, like it's like clean shaved, right? But it was supposed to be something like this. So if you feel like that the facial hair is inconsistent and your character is trained well, right? So even if you don't add a color, you will still get the right facial hair. That is first thing to understand, right? If you are not getting like let's say facial hair, why I said to use a paintbrush and add a reference and not to add something here is because you adding something might affect the character consistency. See, maybe you're adding the word beard in your image might make it look like beard rather than making it look like stubble. See, all these things, all these meta are supposed to be changed by a character trainer and not by you, because the character trainer has various ways to check some characters. See, you can just change this here and it might lead to something that you don't want here. Rather, let the character trainer decide what should be here and do not try to change it here, because maybe your use of the word beard might affect the way this whole beard looks. Just think about it. If I just change this stubble to beard, it might make it look like beard instead of making it look like stubble. Or maybe the shape of the beard might change. Maybe it might give me a different shape of how this looks. So don't try to change things in the prompt. Don't try to play along with this meta. Try to do things you can do on images, right? And for the same thing, okay, I'll come to that point. I'll come to this thing. So we understood all these things. We got an idea about how a character becomes inconsistent and what are the different things you look in image while checking for inconsistencies, right? So now, why exactly are we doing all this stuff from so many days? So we started. So first of all, whoever like have missed any of the sessions, we have recording for each and every session on the AI team. So go and check that so that you understand what exactly did we do from day one. Right now, why exactly are we talking about characters from day one? Right. So first thing is we did three things. We did three important things till now. First thing is day one, we started with understanding character consistencies, why there are differences in the characters and the celebrities, and why those celebrities and characters might lead to the character looking inconsistent, and what is a best way to solve the issue, right? And what do we do to make the image look more consistent. Is that right? You guys remember, whoever attended the first session, day one, you guys remember this? We can. Now, day before yesterday, and like we did it on Wednesday and Thursday, right? We did understand how to pick characters, how to check if your character is consistent or not, how to check if the character that you are using like should be used or not, and then if a character is consistent, which is the right way of picking out a good reference for that character. And now here we are looking at the differences in an image or how a character looks inconsistent. So now all these things should be done in a way that you should not end up in a situation where someone is pointing out that something is wrong in your image. Understand this point. You do things in a particular way. If you are working on a show today, let's say, you are given a new show or a new character, what should be your ideal way of checking a character, or what should be your ideal way of using a character? The very first thing you should do if you get a character today is you should check for the character. So if I get a character today, or if I get a new show today, and I have to work on that character, my very first step will be that I will check if the character is looking consistent or not, or if the character that I have to use is consistent or not. So to check that, where is that? Yeah. So to check that, what will I do? I will start generating images for the character like this. I will generate few images. I will check if the character is consistent or not. I will check the side view faces and I'll check if the character is consistent or not. And if I realize that this character is consistent, then I will pick the right images for my reference and I'll just keep it with me so that I can get a reference here. That okay, this is how she will look in front and this is how she will look when she turns her head, right? And by doing this thing, I'll also figure out if a character is difficult, like if the character is consistent but might be a difficult character, or if the character is entirely inconsistent, right? We also looked at examples where the character is entirely inconsistent. So now very first step of using a character is first figuring it out, that is the character easy, in the sense is the character very consistent to use. If the character is a consistent character but might be a difficult character in few cases, or in few images it might come as inconsistent, or if a character is like exactly inconsistent, like if character is, I can just say that this character is inconsistent without making one image, right? So now if I get a show today and I'm getting these three characters, I can just tell to the character team in the starting that okay, these two characters I'm going to use, right? But this character I want you to change it. So now before moving on to your images or before trying on your images, you first of all made sure that all the characters that you are going to use today are coming consistent, so that you don't have to worry about making them consistent, right? So you got this changed. Now you know that this character, this lady is coming consistent, or she is very consistent. So now whenever I have to use her, I don't have to worry too much about it, right? But this lady, she is a bit difficult character, so she will come consistent. But because when I checked the character, the hair was looking different in few images, the length and the volume. So while using her, whenever I have to make her in my images, I'll be a little precise about if her hair is looking right or not. Or same way, if some character is difficult in terms of facial hair or eye color or anything, while making images, because I have pre-checked my images, I know that this character is consistent and this is difficult. So while making images for this character, I'll be a little bit more, I'll take a little bit more precaution while making images or choosing images. Right, so that is your first step. So now while making your images, first of all, you check your images so that you end up not using a wrong character, because I've seen people, what they do is they don't check the character, they start making images. 2 episodes, 3 episodes have been done using that character, and now while someone, your producer or coordinator, is checking your images, they realize that the character looks inconsistent, and then they get it checked by some other artist or something, and then they end up knowing the fact that the character is inconsistent at the first place. And then again goes a very long process of getting the character changed, and then you have to again sit and get the character right. So all those things can be avoided if in the first place you check the character. Right. Second thing, now when you have checked the character, you can be rest assured that I know this character is very consistent. This is hard. So while making images itself, you'll take a little precaution in the characters that is hard for you to use. Let's say that if you don't check your characters in the start, right, and you just started using the character without checking if the character is consistent or not, and the character is inconsistent now. And now if you just go back, like let's say if you made the images, two two episodes are done, and then after those 2 episodes are checked by your producer, they realize that the character is inconsistent, and then you go and check your characters, and it you realize, or some other senior artist realizes that the character itself was inconsistent in the start, then it goes again in a long process of the character will get changed. You'll go talk to the character trainer, the trainer will change the character. If the change character, now you'll have to again understand, you already made the images, but because you used a wrong character, now you have to again sit and make changes in your images so that the character looks consistent. Now you have to use a different character, inpaint the character, and make it look like the changed character. So you can avoid all these things if you initially start with checking if your character is right or not. Right. And then if you, like, let's say if you have already checked your characters, you initially realize that this character is consistent, this character is hard, and this character is inconsistent. So you have you just told your character trainer that this character is inconsistent, so that will be changed. Now while making the images, you can you know take a little bit precautions on the character that you felt were hard while checking the characters, right? So that while making images, you know that okay, I have to use this character here, or this character is appearing in this image, and I know this character is hard for me to keep it consistent, so let me take a little bit more precaution while making this image or while using this character. How do we select a reference image? First of all, now if I have to check for reference images, right, I will not make any images. I will just select the character and generate few images to check how character looks, right? This is something you understood, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now here, if while generating few images, not making, see there's a lot of difference when you say making images and generating images. Making images in the sense you're making a image, that is, you're making a panel. We never check for characters while making images, we check it before making images. You have to generate the character and check for character consistency before you start making your images.
Yes.
So you should not make your image and then check it. First check your characters and then start making your images. Now, if you say what you are telling me is that while checking for the characters, while generating these, like let's say 8 or 12 images, I realized that the hair length is not coming consistent. Yeah, I was checking this character and then I realized that the hair length is not coming consistent. that the hair is sometimes like this short and sometimes this long and sometimes this long, right? So if while checking for the character itself, you realize that the hair length is very inconsistent, that means that the character is inconsistent, right? Why will you ever use that character? Let your trainer know that the character is inconsistent and let them change it.
Okay, ma'am.
Like that's the whole point of why I'm explaining this. Like, why will you ever use a character that was inconsistent in the first place? Right? And
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
if if you feel like there's a difference between consistent character, inconsistent character, and hard character. Understand the point. If the hair is inconsistent in all the images, like all the images you make, every time it's inconsistent. Like for example, this character, like it was in, like I generated 16 images here. In all the 16 images, the volume and the length were different. So if this is the case, the length is looking different in all the images, then definitely that's an inconsistent character. You'll not end up using the character. But if it's a hard character, there's a difference between inconsistent and hard character. So this is a hard character because out of 12 images, only 2 or 3 images where she is inconsistent. Now, if I check for the first, like let's just check this. So out in all these, maybe one of them were inconsistent. In this, like for example, maybe one of them was inconsistent. In this, maybe 2 of them is inconsistent, something like that. So then you know that this is the length. Because if you generate 8 images, maybe 6 or 7 of them comes with the same length or same style or same partition. Only 1 or 2 of them are not coming with the same length or same partition. So then you know that the character is consistent, because when I'm generating images, out of 30 images that I created, maybe 25 of them are very consistent. Maybe I have to work on 5 images, because in those 5 images, maybe because of something or the other, the length is looking odd or the volume is looking odd. So I'll fix that. Right, but rest of the 25 images are perfectly fine.
Okay, ma'am. Got.
But then if I use an inconsistent character, all the 30 images might look different. Okay. So
Yes, ma'am.
before starting or making your images, you have to first check your character and you have to get a clear understanding of how a character looks. Inconsistent characters, don't end up using inconsistent characters. If you already know before starting your episode that this is a consistent character and this is a difficult character, while making images using this character, you will not have to worry about length and stuff. See, now I know that. Now here, it was only about, is the partition coming left or right. We were only checking if we have to keep a reference for left parted hair or right parted hair. Right. But the length is similar in all the images. No matter what image I pick up, the length is never an issue. So I know that here I never have to worry if the length is right or not. It is an inconsistent character, right? But here I know that maybe length might be an issue in few images. So I'll take a little precaution while making these images with this character in it. Because I already know before starting my episode, I already know that this character is difficult. So I'll be on my toes while making the images with this character. Once we know that the character is consistent or inconsistent or hard or anything else, now we have made the images, right? So now, after we have done all this thing, like let's say now we have got the inconsistent characters changed, and now we have only 2 types of character. Maybe it's a consistent character or maybe it's a hard character. So now, using both the characters, I have made images. Now, while making images, right, you already have a reference of your character on top of your like studio. Like let's say this is an episode I'm doing, right? In that episode, this character comes 6 times, and I have this reference with me on my studio. So while making images itself, I will check my images with the reference. Every time I'll use this character, right? I can I not check my images with the reference I created? This is one image I create. Can I just keep it along with the reference I have here and check that okay, the length is not looking right here. Maybe not this curl, because maybe think about it. Your reference is kept somewhere on your studio, right? And you're making this image somewhere here. Like you will never realize if this hair is right or not. You will only realize this when you check it along with your reference. That okay, now because I had a reference here, now I can see the difference. That okay, this is how the hair was supposed to look, and this is looking a bit more curlier, or the length is not looking right, or the color is not looking right, or the volume is not looking right. So while making images itself, you can match your images with your reference image. Every time you use a character, every time you make an image for the character, take a reference with you and match it. That okay, is it looking exactly like this or not? If it's not looking, now I don't have to point out that why exactly things are not looking right. You yourself told me a lot of points of why these characters or this hair is not looking right. So now if you can point out things in the images that I have on my screen right now, why can't you do the same thing while you make your own images? Like why do someone else can point out things on your images and you yourself cannot see that? Like think about it. You have generated an image. You had all those images on your studio screen. You had all those images uploaded on a drive. And while doing all these process, you never realize that the hair is looking inconsistent. And why exactly is it that your producer or coordinator, while looking at the images, they can see the inconsistency, but you can't see? Or just imagine that your AI POC is checking your images, and they, who does not even know how the character looks, they can see that the character is looking inconsistent, and you, someone who is using the character for so long, you have made an entire episode using the character, you are not able to figure out that the character is looking inconsistent. So make sure that the images that you upload on the drive, you check that. You can take a reference and check your images if your character is being inconsistent or not. Like you have two opportunities to check your character. You have all the images on one studio here. You can just take a reference and match your character. Even if you don't do that, while uploading something on the drive, you have all the character one below the other. Can't you just match the character there? Can't you just notice that, my character is looking different here, or the hairstyle is looking different here? Like how nicely you told me here that this is looking wrong, this is wrong here, this is wrong here. Do the same thing in your images. Do the same thing, do the same markings in your images, that this image, this thing is wrong, this image, this thing is wrong. No, this image is perfectly fine. We have checked the characters, we have used the right characters to make our images, we have used the right reference for our images. Now after I have done creating my images, or I have done creating my episode, I will use that reference image that I created. I'll check my characters in case if I feel like there are issues in my characters, that okay, out of 30 images, I realized that 6 of the images, the hairstyle is looking inconsistent. I've also marked what is looking wrong in my hairstyle, that in this particular image, this has to be fixed. In this particular image, this has to be fixed. When I already know that this has to be fixed, then I will think about how to fix it. Now, how to fix this? We talked about this in the day one session. And how do we fix characters? Why exactly are there differences in the characters and how do we fix it? To summarize this, how do you fix it? You inpaint the characters to fix the character. If only inpainting is not working, you will first fix the character on your end by either taking it to Photoshop and fixing it, or sometimes by just using a paintbrush will also work, right? I'm not talking about hairstyle here. I'm talking about any inconsistencies, right? So any inconsistencies, you will have to fix it on your end. If only inpainting is not working, so fix it on your end first and then imprint it. And that should solve your problem. So now after doing these three steps, like checking the characters, making the images using the reference, and checking the images after creating the images, checking the images with your reference. And then once you have done that, you're also fixing the images where you felt like it's looking inconsistent. Now, after doing all these things, once you upload something on the drive, you should be 100, you should go with 100% assurity that the images I have on drive right now, nothing can go wrong in that. So I think after doing all this, you should be able to, make character consistency a better way, right? Did a lot of things, and I guess character consistency should not be an issue now.